My trip to Computex 2017 was possible thanks to Sonic and Cryorig. Feel free to check them out at the links in the description box down below. Hello guys, Matthew here and welcome back to the TechTick YouTube channel for this special Computex report. Although this is not my first trip ever to Computex, I had a chance to visit it before. It was on the other hand my first year ever going into it as a TechTick channel, so this time that was a completely new experience for me. I know I'm a bit late with the content, but I still wanted to round up everything that I had a chance to check out while being there for you, so you can expect a couple of videos, this first one being surrounded by the core PC part, as you'll see, so let's just jump into it. Probably the most talked about topic at this year's Computex, at least in terms of the core PC stuff, was the launch of Intel's X299 platform and the Skylake X CPUs, so thanks to that I had a chance to see a few of new and upcoming X299 chipset based motherboards, like for example the always feature-packed Asus Rampage 6 Extreme one, which was hogging the most attention on the Asus booth, together with the new Zenith series, alongside of the Prime and Tough series, which are usual part of their motherboard lineup. ASRock also showed off some X299 models, the most interesting one being the only ITX model on display, while other than that the most of the attention fell onto their Tai Chi and Fatality series, which are, as you can see, covered in a completely new and pretty interesting grey and silver design. I really dig it, but I'm kinda disappointed they are not sticking with the current white design too. What are your thoughts about it? Feel free to leave your comments down below. EVGA also brought out their big X299 motherboard guns, most interesting ones being the X299 Micro series, as well as X299 for the Win K series and their highest end X299 Dark model, with which you'll in the bundle get an additional PCB board that acts like a bench table and has a very cool blueprint of components layout on it. MSI also went all in, showing off their X299 chipset based models on their ongoing series like the gaming SLI and Carbon, of course fully packed with features and waiting to be thoroughly reviewed, hopefully by me. Ryzen motherboards were also laid out, some of them you already know from before, some of them are new, like for example the new X399 chipset based ones for the upcoming massive Threadripper CPU and its platform. Lastly, on the 36th floor of the Taipei 101 building, Gigabyte showed off a bunch of their X299 representatives in the form of a lot of models coming in from Aorus and ultra durable sub-brands, so all in all we have some interesting time in front of us, especially once all of these boards that I've mentioned here finally start to roll out on the market together with the CPUs. One more interesting thing that I saw at MSI's booth was that some of the more mainstream models are going to come with bundled Intel's Optane memory set, like for example this B250M Bazooka model, and they've actually told me that the price difference should be next to negligible. That's probably a move from Intel's side, since it's likely they want to promote this new technology. We actually had something similar back in the day when SSD caching first came out with the Z68 chipset. Moving on to the memory, I didn't see that much new stuff. G.Skill and ADATA showed off a couple of their new models, G.Skill with the new line of AMD's Ryzen certified memory called Fortress and Flare X, which was introduced not so long ago, while ADATA showed off their new Gamix D10 line of mainstream DDR4 RAM and the Spectrix D10 RGB DDR4 RAM, next to existing XPG Z1 model but with new kits available which come with higher working frequencies. Overall, there wasn't many new models in terms of design, but rather a lot of new high-frequency RAM kits based on the existing series, together with overclocking events and a bunch of broken world records in frequency speeds during those. Since we are talking about storage and memory, alongside of the RAM, I also saw a couple of new incoming models of SSDs, one of which is ADATA's XPG 950, which is actually with me right now and I'm going to review it soon, as well as their XPG Spectrix S10 RGB SSD. Yes, you've heard it right, RGB SSD. I think we now seen it all. Beside the regular 2.5-inch form factor, there was also plenty of M.2 NVMe based SSDs, which which had their debut on this year's Computex, like for example the Kingston's KC1000, which delivers some quite impressive performance as you can see it here from the screen, as well as some enterprise grade models like the DCU and DCP2000, U2 and PCI Express based SSDs. Beside that, ADATA showed off their mainstream S6 7000 and S6 6000 NP series of M.2 NVMe SSDs, together with the S6 9000 and S6 8000 NP, which are also M.2 NVMe SSDs, but based on a much capable and faster controllers and NAND flash. CPU cooling wise, Noctua is working on a few new coolers, mostly based on the existing ones but slightly redesigned for AM4 socket, as well as on the new next generation A fan series that's currently 4 years in the making, and new U-type coolers based on the current U14 and U12 models, where they now plan to bump up the surface area and number of heat pipes, alongside of some Chromex accessory updates like the different color top shrouds for the coolers and cable sleevings. Antec again showed off their Mercury water cooling lineup, one that's actually dating from last year's Computex and now is finally soon to be released, so expect a review of it too. Speaking of the water cooling, as you know, Fractal introduced us with their Celsius series just right before Computex, so I had a chance to see it in person, as well as Corsair's latest upcoming generation of Hydro series with new aluminum top housing with RGB LED lighting for the also new 6th generation of pump unit, alongside of the new LED fans, while in focus being the new 360mm red, which is the first one for this series. As for the graphics cards, everything is still pretty much the same in terms of the ongoing series. AMD didn't introduce us with Vega GPUs, although that was somewhat expected. I did saw some GT 1030 models, still waiting to try out one, but more or less focus is set on the high end when it comes to newer models, like for example MSI's GTX 1080 Ti Lightning Z and Duke series, which are with their different specs and design bringing in even more segmented portfolio for MSI, while EVGA showed off their massive Kingpin model, also based on the GTX 1080 Ti series. Sapphire displayed their special edition model based on the RX 500 series with this very interesting blue design, and like this it will sit between the regular and limited edition versions. They've also announced some new accessories in the form of interchangeable top shroud and backplates in different colors, as you can see it here, while EVGA is aiming to do the same thing, offering interchangeable top shrouds for their For the Win and Superclocked series. Although Gigabyte didn't show off anything new in regards of their graphics cards, they did show me their new and upcoming very compact external graphics card enclosure, which is barely bigger than your average size graphics card and still holds power supply unit too. Cannot wait to finally try it out. This type of product was a pretty common sight on this year's Computex. Sapphire also introduced us with their own, soon to be released, but only as a complete OEM solution. When it comes to power supplies, Antec introduced two new series, the fully modular HCG Pro series with bronze and gold efficiency certification, with pretty interesting design and set of functionalities, one of it being magnetic dust filter and RGB support, while EVGA refreshed their B series of power supplies with new B3 and BV series, while they also have an SFX model in the making. Speaking of the SFX power supplies, Silverstone is working on a passive one, yes, a completely passive, no fan SFX form factor power supply. Really can't wait to check it out in person, although it looks that I'll have to be patient as it's still a year from being finished. Corsair also had a new model, but nothing too exciting, as that was just a white color introduction for the RMX series, since users were really eager to get one for their custom build. That's it for this time, more to come out soon. Be sure to like it if you found something that was interesting to you, and feel free to comment down below what did you like the most, and of course be sure to subscribe for the upcoming content, and until then, catch you later guys.